Oh snap, we are live. Let me know, y'all, just to make sure that y'all can see and hear me okay. We should be good to go. Sorry about that little hiccup in the beginning there. I don't know why I started live streaming on its own. I didn't click start streaming, so I don't know. I'm glad I was fully clothed. Oh man. But yeah, thank you everybody for stopping by to hang out. And we're gonna switch it up a little bit on this one. Um, Give you all a little bit of insight on what I was thinking. So the last session was really good, man. I went really deep into a lot of things having to do with recording and delivery, all types of stuff, man. Like, and I don't know what I'm gonna say a lot of times before I do these live streams. It's literally a live stream of consciousness sometimes, and it was really good. And then the purpose, of that was I was setting up to talk to kind of explain some things before I started doing them, recording live. Then I started recording live, and after doing that for the remainder of the time, it was like 20, 25 minutes or something like that. I came to the conclusion that what I would rather do moving forward with this series on this particular part is, instead of recording stuff live in front of you, what I would rather do is take my time and record stuff privately, because as you can see, as I was demonstrating, is getting all your takes and stuff right. It takes time. And after a while, that's going to get really boring. You just see me doing the same takes over and over and over again, because I'm a perfectionist. So there's certain things where you may be like, why didn't you keep that take? I thought that was fine. But what I want to do is be able to record everything without the time constraint of doing something like a live stream. And then after I get everything done, then I can actually come back in a live stream and show you guys, take you through all the recording and demonstrate to you what I did differently from the initial recording, and kind of show you through maybe spot stacks I did, or ad libs, or the way that I layered my vocals on certain parts, things of that nature. I think that'll be a lot more valuable for your time, opposed to you just sitting there watching me trying to get takes right, which I think it was cool for that moment, so you could see how it really is behind the scenes. Like, it's work. Like, in the studio, it's real work to get stuff to sound the way that you're wanting to get it to sound. So I think that was cool. I'm cool with that. But moving forward, I don't want to do like 2 or 3 more videos of me just trying to record vocals. What I would like to do is get everything nice and laid out, and then talk through that, and then we can move on to the next and final stage of the track, which will be mixing. And I'll probably do something similar in that as well, where I'll do some speaking and talking, and then maybe I'll do some live mixing for maybe 15, 20 minutes or something like that. And then I'll go back and actually mix a song, and then take you through the mix and what I actually did on another video. So anyways, thank you all so much for stopping by and hanging out. So we're going to do something different this time. We're actually going to be doing like a live Q&A, answering questions. So sound off. If you have a question that you've been wanting to ask me and haven't been able to get that answered yet, this is the perfect opportunity to get that done. And feel free to sound off. That's what I'm here to do, is just try to be as helpful as possible. So Monica Mize, the moderator, is going to be helping me capture these questions. She's going to be dropping them in the what you see as the lyrics box right here, and we'll get it going. So Corinne was asking, in recording a song, what part takes the longest? It really depends. There's really no part that takes the longest. It's like this. It's like the squeaky wheel is the one that always gets the grease, as the saying goes. So there's been songs that I've written where I've worked on the hook for 2 to 3 hours before, literally, because I've just got, it's not quite like, I haven't quite got that wow factor out of it yet. And I don't know quite how to do it, and I'm just trying to figure it out. So I may zone out in between coming up with melodies and stuff like that. And then recording it, it may take some time. I remember one time I literally spent about 3 or 4 hours recording a hook just alone, because I was really practicing my vocal range. And what I was trying to do is create like a 3-part harmony with my vocals without any auto-tune or anything. And that was just more of me experimenting in my personal studio with my vocals, which is a great benefit from you when you're able to record at home, opposed to you going to someone else's house to record at the studio, then you have that time restraint usually, and you don't really have time to experiment and throw ideas against the wall. So, when you have your own studio, you can kind of zone out and really experiment with your vocals and trying to accomplish different things. So there's really no, part that takes longer than others per se. It really just depends on what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish. Because, for an example, you could have your verse memorized perfectly, and you could record that verse perfectly without, getting off beat or missing a word or anything, but it may not sound the way that you want it to sound. So you may spend more time getting that emotion and that energy right. So it really depends. I've recorded people before in the studio, and we literally record the whole song, and I'm not exaggerating. There's been times where I've recorded a song with someone in 15, 20 minutes. There's also been times where I recorded somebody and it took 4 or 5 hours. And that's the difference between someone who came super duper prepared, who's a perfectionist and just has memorized everything and has been practicing and stuff, versus someone who needed a little bit extra attention, who had trouble staying on beat. I had to work with him live with, rearranging some of his lyrics to make them fit the beat. That's why I say, I was coaching people and teaching people stuff about rap way before I ever did anything on YouTube. I used to do this with people live in the studio. And that's why that person, it took 5 hours or so, because I was willing to work with that person because I wanted to help them as much as possible and make them sound as good as possible. So I think that answers your question. Captain Soap, Cole, if I get your mixing service, can you make me get that designer future sound? I can make if I get your mixing service, can you make me get that designer future sound? I can make my voice low. So a lot of that sound, it really falls in, first of all, how you record. As long as you can get the recordings sounding like a future designer as far as how they're recording it, then from there, from a mixing perspective, then yes, I can take that and I can study their stuff and study how their vocals are typically processed with auto-tune and things of that nature and mimic that. So when it comes to mixing, the most important aspect of mixing is the recording. A lot of people put all the emphasis on the mixing, but really mixing is meant for enhancing and for creating balance. But it all falls on what we're actually given initially. You have to have a good source material to work with in order for the mix to come out a certain way. So there's a term we use in the mixing world is, if you hand me a turd as a mixing engineer, then all I can do is hand you back a polished turd, but it's still a turd, right? So the recording is so important, which is why it's good to spend as much time on the recording as you can to get everything perfect. That way, you're not relying as heavily on mixing to fix things, but rather enhance things. So, yeah, study those artists, like you was saying, Captain Soap. Study the designers, study Future, and I know we was talking about that earlier today in our session together. Study those artists and what they're doing with their vocals, and start practicing mimicking them, and keeping in mind that, yeah, there is effects they're using like auto-tune and stuff like that, but mimic doing what they're doing as close as you can naturally. And then that way, when you start adding effects like auto-tune and things of that nature, it won't be as drastic of an adjustment. It'll just be more enhancing the sound to get it closer to what they're going after. So I hope that answers your question. So we got another question in here. Kid Music, what's an interesting way to come up with concepts? Like, is there any format that could help make concepts for rap songs? So yeah, I actually wrote an article on my website, and it's called, let me just grab that for you real quick. It's called How to Write a Rap Song. That's a really good article that you should definitely check out. And you should also check out the beginning of this video series on how to write a rap song, or writing a rap song live, because you can see the approach that I teach in this article live. What I like to do is I do a lot of planning. here's the article here. You check that out in the chat. Another really good article to check out is how to figure out what it's called "What You Should Rap About: A Guide to Destroying Writer's Block." It's another really good article, and it's really speaking about concepts and not even concepts, but perspectives. I mean, because let me just say this: being a good rapper does not make you a good songwriter. Those are two different things. You know, rapping is the ability to merge poetry and rhythm together. That's to really simplify things. You know, there's a lot of technique that goes into rapping, but from a songwriting perspective, just being a good rapper doesn't make you a good songwriter. Songwriting is a skill in and of itself, and I think of an artist is someone who has the ability to paint pictures, a person who's able to perform in such a way to where it captivates the audience and causes them to see what you want them to see. It has the ability to entertain somebody, take somebody on a ride, an adventure, to suck them into your world and submerge them in it. So, you know, I'm a big fan of planning. So typically when I'm approaching writing a song, in a way I'm letting the music speak to me, and I'm being really conscious of how the music makes me feel. That's what I mean when I say that. How it makes me feel, and I'm kind of making mental notes, or I may be writing ideas down on paper of what ideas come to mind. And then as those ideas come to mind, I'm thinking, okay, how can I create a song around this? What are other things that I may mention based on how this song makes me feel and what it makes me think about? And then from there, I start just brainstorming ideas like, okay, I could put this in here, I could put this in here. And then I'm just brainstorming. I'm not writing any lyrics at this point. And then I start kind of organizing all that into like in a structure, which I call a storyboarding. It's called a storyboard technique. And it's similar to what you would do if you're doing a music video. Before you go out and shoot your music video, you would typically do something called a storyboard, so you have an idea of all the different shots that you're trying to get, different locations, different camera angles, that type of thing. Are you going to have drone shots, you know, from the sky, you know, and are you going to have a shot where maybe the drone is coming all the way down and it's looking, you know, in like while you're driving a car or something like that, you know, or whatever. What's that going to look like? Or you're going to have the drone flying closer by over you to the left, and then on the left side you'll be able to see like some train tracks in the background. Like, storyboarding keeps all that in mind. It's, if you ever pay attention to movies or sitcoms or whatever, the camera in and of itself is performing for you. Like, if you just look at how smooth the camera angles are and how they transition from one side to the other, and everything's queued up, all the actors and actresses are ready to go. It's genius, and it's not even speaking, you know, verbally, but it's performing. And storyboards are kind of like that when it comes to writing a song. Is you're already getting a vision together on what it is that you're trying to create and capture that you want your audience to see. And so check that out. It's a really good, those two articles are really good. I think that's going to give you a lot of really good insight. Reality's Truth Buried asks, how should I practice with my tones and my enthusiasm that you put into your recordings? I find I have problems with getting both of them together the way I want. It usually is one or the other for me. So enthusiasm, this kind of goes back to my rant slash, I don't know, moment of enlightenment or enlightening others last session. Enthusiasm. If you don't feel what you're saying, then why should anybody else? The first key is you need to rap about something that's real to you, something that you're really passionate about. That's the key right there. If you're rapping about something that's not real to you and you don't feel, then that's going to be a lot more difficult to allow that enthusiasm to come through in a record. So it starts there. It needs to come from a real place. That's step one. Then step two, when it comes to your tones, your tones and your enthusiasm, they go hand in hand in a way. And what I found is this is speaking on delivery. And if you didn't see last week's video, make sure you check it out. Do yourself a favor and watch at least the first half, the first 20, 30 minutes, because I go on a long spill about all this right here. But when you're rapping something, you have to deliver a performance. And that performance is not going to be necessarily how you feel in that moment. You have to bring that out of you. And you have to deliver that experience. And that's what being a performer is. That's why it's really similar to acting. Because when you see someone acting out something in a script, you don't know what they were going through in their personal life that day when they shot that. For all you know, they could have had a bad breakup or something like that. But when it comes to performing, they have to set all that aside and bring you this emotional experience. And usually what kills acting is people over or underperforming. So as I was saying in my last video, like if you ever look at extras in movies, me and my wife joke around about this a lot, but when we see some of them, we'll say, man, that extra is acting like really extra, like extra everything. Their job was to be on the couch eating a bag of Doritos, right? But they're like so happy to be on set that they're treating this one like background position like they're trying to get like an Emmy for it, and they're like putting so much like energy and emotion into eating these Doritos the way it comes off so fake. Because no one eats Doritos like that. You know what I'm saying? Instead of being chilled and relaxed. And I submit to you that oftentimes what you're trying to do when you're rapping your lyrics and stuff is you're trying to recreate how you would naturally feel in real life if you was talking about the things you was talking about. Because naturally on a daily basis, you have fluctuations in your tone. You have fluctuations in your energy and emotion. And it can be weird when you're writing it and performing it because it's not happening in that moment. And so what you have to learn how to do is recreate those moments over and over and over again. And a good place to start is learn other rappers' rap songs and mimic their tone and emotion. Y'all hear me do DMX all the time. Hey, yo, my man, what's going down? You know what I'm saying? Like, I just go into that at any given time. And DMX is a wonderful example of tone and energy and emotion. Like, practice other rappers' songs and emulating their fluctuations in their voice and learn that and get it to the point where you can recreate that over and over and over again. That's the most simplest way for me to say this is how you can do it. Study other people's examples. Going back to what I was saying with Captain Soap and really anything else, man. Like, generally, there's just if I could speak to myself like 10 years ago, or longer than that now, like let's say 15 years ago when I first started like mixing really and producing and stuff. One thing I would say to myself is, Cole, let me tell you something that will really help you learn so much faster. It's called referencing. And what referencing is anything that you want to learn. Whatever it is, anything you're trying to get better at, use the power of what we call referencing. And what that simply is learning by observation. Simply by learning, not by what you're told, verbatim, verbally, but learning by what you see and what you hear. You will learn so much in life if you do that. For an example, if you see, I'll give you one example for me. So when I was coming up in high school, I remember the big thing that was coming around was crystal meth. It just came out of nowhere. And all of a sudden, all my friends and stuff are doing crystal meth. And they come over to my house one day, my parents' house, and their eyes are so dilated, their pupils are so dilated, they have no color in their eyes. It's just all black. And they had lost like 30 something pounds, 30 or 40 pounds, people who wasn't even big. So they're like skin and bones, and they look like garbage, and they're gritting their teeth like this, and they're looking around like this right here. And like, hey man, you want to smoke some ice? Here I am observing the situation. And I'm looking at them and I'm thinking to myself, do I want to be like that? Not judging them. I'm asking myself, do I want to be like that? I said, nah, I'm good, bro. Thanks for the offer. Appreciate it, but I'm a pass because no, that doesn't look like anything that I need to be doing based on my observation on how it's affecting you and how you look, and you look very unhealthy and you haven't slept in 3 or 4 days and you're seeing shadow people and hallucinating and you're not eating, it's like, I like to sleep. I like to eat. I don't want to be hallucinating. Like, I'm good. So referencing in anything when it comes to music, if you want to get better at making beats, if you want to get better at mixing, if you want to get better at rapping, reference to what it is that you're trying to get better at. If you want to get better at with your vocal fluctuations and your energy and stuff, study people who you think sound good. Break it down to small sections. As I always say, the way you eat an elephant is one piece at a time. Break it down to small sections so it doesn't seem overwhelming. What really caused me to fall in love with rap was actually, now looking back, it was actually referencing, I wasn't thinking about that at the time, but it was 95, and I heard Coolio's Gangsta's Paradise, huge hit song back in the day. Some of you, younger people may not know anything about Coolio or Gangsta's Paradise, but it was a huge hit. And when I heard that song, it was just so catchy. And I remember sitting outside during the summertime with my cassette deck or / CD tape deck, and I wrote down all the lyrics. This was before the internet had lyrics and stuff on them, or at least I didn't know about it. And I wrote down all the lyrics, and I sat there and memorized the whole song, and I was practicing along with that whole song until I got the whole thing perfect. And I'm practicing this thing for weeks, trying to get this right. And that's when I realized that, oh, this isn't easy. This takes skill. Because Coolio made it sound easy, as you should, if you're good at what you do. But that's when I realized, oh, rapping ain't easy. Man. And then once I learned the song, it kind of gave me that confidence, like, maybe I could do this. It's not going to be easy, but if I learned his song, maybe I can start creating my own songs. And so even in that, I was learning so many cadences. I was learning so many things about the way he did his voice and stuff like that, and the way they sung the hook. I was learning so much information, whether I realized it or not at the time, just by learning the song. So that's my advice on that. So Corinne asked, how do I study a cadence, and how on earth do I remember other artists and my own cadences? So that's kind of going off of what I was just saying. So you have no idea how much information you already have in your brain. We don't realize it. We don't realize how much data we already have. If you listen to hip hop, and if you really listen to hip hop, I would not be surprised if you already knew hundreds of cadences already. You just don't realize it because you don't think about it. So when you memorize someone's song, then you're also memorizing their cadences. They go hand in hand. It's like, it's almost impossible not to learn the lyrics unless you're just reading paper and you haven't heard the song. It's almost impossible not to hear the lyrics and the cadence at the same time. So that's what I would recommend with you, is challenge yourself. I have a video about this. It's called How to Create Cadences. Look for how to create cadences. I take 3 different rappers, Eminem, DMX, and Andre 3000. I take cadences from 3 different songs from different tempos, and then I rap them all to the same beat. All I'm doing is, and this isn't even necessarily memorizing their lyrics. You can scat gibberish, and we do it naturally. Like, you know how you'll be at the club, or you may be at a party, or just hanging out with your friends, and you're like, man, have y'all heard that new song or whatever? And they're like, how's it go? And you probably hadn't memorized all the lyrics, but you know enough of it so they might catch it. And so what you'll typically do is you may kind of mumble a little bit, and then you will come out, and usually your voice gets louder once you get to the part where you actually know the lyrics. And then, so technically, you're already, doing some gibberish, like quote unquote, scatting to their cadence as you're also trying to say the lyrics. So once again, break stuff down in small sections. Take an artist that you really like. What you have to understand in order to do this properly is you gotta have a trained ear. You gotta be able to hear the beats in the music, because what you're listening for is where they're beginning their bars at. For an example, when they start their verse off, when you're studying those first 4 bars of their verse, do they start on the first beat? Are they leading into the first beat from the end of the last bar? Or are they pausing on the first beat, letting that come through, and then leading into the second beat? Like this is something that's critical to being able to decipher what the people's doing as far as their cadences, and then being able to do that to another beat. Because once you take that cadence to another beat, you need to know that information so you know how to apply that to another beat. Because if they start on the first beat and then you try to do their cadence to another instrumental and you start, before the first beat, then everything's not going to line up properly. It's going to throw everything off. So that's the key right there, is being able to hear that. And a simplistic way to do that is break it down to small sections. Just, maybe it's 4 bars. Heck, even 1 bar. And listen for that. Figure that out. After you do that for a while, you'll do that instinctively. Like when I created that video with using Eminem and DMX and Andre 3000, I wasn't getting super technical about where they're landing on the beats and stuff like that, because I could do that by ear, and which is somewhat easy for me, but that's just from a lot of years of hearing music. Like, I can hear 4 bars without counting it. I can just feel it. I just know how 4 bars feels. I can tell, like I was listening to a song this morning with my wife. I was letting her check out Snow the Product. And my first time actually hearing her, I've heard a lot of people talking really highly of her. And I was checking out one of her songs and I was listening to it. I'm like, oh, watch. Okay, 4 bars is about to come up. I guarantee you, watch. I bet she's about to change her flow right here. I bet she's about to change her cadences. And what happens after 4 bars? Boom, changes her cadences. Change the way she's flowing. You can anticipate when things are coming up and yada, yada, yada. But anyways, I hope that answers your question. Challenge yourself. Recall songs that you already know. I guarantee y'all right now, if I were to say, do any of y'all know any Michael Jackson songs? Like Man in the Mirror or Thriller. If you start thinking about that, then all of a sudden this not new information, but old information starts coming to the forefront of your mind. And now your brain is recalling all this information that you did not realize was stored on your internal hard drive. Be there, all you gonna do. Then you hear that bass. Don't, hey, so do that with any song. Panda. I got brother in Atlanta. I da 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 da. Dabba da dabba da dabba. Baba da baba da baba. Dabba da dabba da dabba. Hebaka habaka heba. Hibacha haba da dabba. Like any song, do any song. It doesn't matter. Like just take whatever song and start trying to recall what information you have about that song and practice that to other instrumentals, or practice that, go back and listen to their song and practice it to their song. That's the best way I can do it, is be intentional about what it is that you're trying to mimic and start studying it more intensely, and you'll be fine. Try not to overthink stuff. Small sections. Don't overwhelm yourself. Small sections. Focus on small sections and focus on finding the patterns. And like I said, typically things carry on in anywhere between 2 to 4 bars before something changes. And music is all about patterns. We have patterns in the way we write a song. Typically a hook is going to come up every 16 bars because the verse is typically 16 bars. We know typically an intro is going to be 4 to 8 bars in length. Same thing for an outro. There's patterns that allow us as human beings to make sense of things, so things aren't random. And the key to really figuring out anything is really studying the patterns. So I hope that helps. I know a little bit long-winded with my answers, but Julio asks, Cole, I have a question. I use Rhyme Zone for my lyrics. Is it wrong for me? What, Rhyme Zone, isn't that like a rhyming dictionary? I believe that's a rhyming dictionary. Let's see. It's a dictionary and thesaurus. So absolutely nothing wrong with a rhyming dictionary. It's a tool. I actually wrote about different tools that rappers can use to help their workflow, and rhyming dictionaries is one of those. It's really good. I haven't been super duper impressed with a lot of the rhyming dictionaries I found, because I feel like you know, they're more like, you know, perfect rhymes and stuff like that. But um, rhyming dictionaries is awesome. Um, Rhyming dictionaries also will help out with your freestyles. But once again, it's all about recalling information, like I was just talking about. When you're freestyling, all you're doing is trying to figure out words that rhyme together, and you're trying to fill in the rest. So typically, your mind jumps to the word you're trying to rhyme first. You figure out what that rhyme is, and then you fill in the rest real quick. That's typically the mentality behind freestyling. So the better you are at freestyling, the quicker you can recall words that rhyme. So what's a great way to do that? Rhyming dictionaries, or creating something I call rhyming lists, where you create lists of words that rhyme together on your own, and you can use a rhyming dictionary to start you off, and then you can continue to build upon that, and then you go through and familiarize yourself with your list, and that can help out with freestyling, but it can also help out with songwriting too, because in a sense, we're always trying to freestyle because we're always trying to come up with something on the spot. Writing a song allows you to get a lot more well thought out than you would have for a freestyle, because a freestyle, you just have a moment's time to figure out what that next line is. When you're writing a song, you can sit there and contemplate it, or as we were speaking about earlier, you can plan out a song, you know, and figure out how you want to tell your storyline and stuff like that, which, you know, unless you're a different breed of a human being, you likely can't do that while you're freestyling and figure out all your concepts and how you're going to tell this elaborate storyline and stuff like that. But definitely nothing wrong with Rhyme Zone. Don't ever let anyone make you feel bad for learning anything. There's certain people who have a problem with people learning how to rap. And hey, that's their own personal issue. I don't think there's anything wrong with education and taking on anything the way you're trying to learn a new skill, and you go down the route of education in order to learn that, versus just trying to learn something from a lot of trial and experience and a lot of shooting in the dark and guesswork and stuff. That's where I come from, and that's why I started teaching people how to rap, so they wouldn't have to spend so much time trying to learn something when I can break it down for them pretty quickly. That way they know exactly what they need to start working on, so it takes out all the guessing work. So there's nothing wrong with Rhyme Zone, so don't feel bad about that. And read the dictionary, read the sources, read rhyming dictionaries. The more words that you learn, the more artillery you'll have to use in your arsenal. And a lot of rappers are real big fans of literature. A lot of rappers actually read because they're constantly trying to grow that vocabulary. Something I do personally, I have like the dictionary app on my phone. I'm constantly looking up words that I come across I don't know, and I'm trying to learn their meaning. It's just a constant, you know what I'm saying, a constant cycle. So hope that helps. Adrian, Cole, do you know of any online platforms to practice rapping with a partner or practicing collaboration rapping? Think of it like playing basketball solo versus teammates. You know, that's a good question, man. There's a couple of websites. I think one's called like Jam. One's called like something jam.com. Another one is Ohm Studio, which I've used that before to collaborate with other students I'm working with on their songs. And what it basically allows you to do is connect together live in like your own private, kind of like chat room that also has a built-in DAW into it, which is pretty cool. Now, I've never jammed out live with anyone else because some of this stuff requires you to have like a special piece of hardware in order to do that. I haven't looked into this in probably like maybe 6 months, but I did look into this heavily when I was thinking about like, okay, how can I take my coaching and stuff to the next level? I was like, man, it would be so awesome if the internet was to a point to where we could work together without any type of latency or lag or delay, and when one signal reaches the other person. We're not quite there yet. I think the way some of those softwares and hardwares are working is there's basically a buffer set up to where they're taking your signal and that other person's signal, and there's a delay where they're matching it up to where you all get the same signal at the same time. I could be wrong about that, but it's something called Jam. I don't know. You had to look that up, Adrian. But that's one of the ones I was looking at. I don't know about rappers. I've seen a lot of people in there doing like rock music and instrumental music, people actually playing instruments. But and Monica, what was that? What was that? We was doing a live hangout one time, and you went in there and you was freestyling with somebody. What was that? Do you remember what that was? She can drop that in the chat if you remember what that is. Moderator Mize, just mention Adrian and let him know what that was, because that actually looked pretty good. But I'm not sure if y'all was able to rap together at the same time, or you just kind of had to, because the way that was working is somebody was playing the instrumental and then both people could rap over it. So it seemed like it was going pretty good. Music Maker Jam, that could be it. I'm not 100% sure. I don't remember. But yeah, my pleasure, bro. Hot Skies, how can a rapper get more listens on YouTube, SoundCloud, DatPiff, etc.? Thanks. What? Jesse Ventura is in the house? Jesse's rapping? Let me tell you something. I've seen things that would blow your mind. I was a Navy SEAL, a professional wrestler. I'm the governor of Minnesota. I love Jesse Ventura. Okay, so to answer your question, the way you get more listens on the internet, because this is all internet based, is what you're saying, is one, do not spam people, because that's going to work against you. Don't hit up people like just shoving your music down their throat. It's work. It takes time. Starting conversations. Find artists that you feel like already have a decent fan base that are similar to the type of music that you're making, and start following those people. Start making conversations with them. I'm telling you, this works. Be real though. Don't be some type of spam robot. What's up, bro? Hey, bro, check out my music, bro. Hey, man, check out my single, man. Subscribe to me on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter. Like my Facebook page. Buy my album. And you don't even know what their name is. Haven't even taken the time to even address them by their name. Like, nothing screams, I don't give a crap about you, other than not taking the time to actually address someone by their name. Have a decent conversation with them. Be a real human being. And you know what happens? This is crazy. This is wild. You know what happens when you take the time to actually have a real conversation with a person? They actually become interested in what you do. And guess what? What you do is music. And they're way more likely to be really interested in what you're doing if you take the time to maybe get to know them a little bit. That takes time, okay? And building any type of fan base is a lot of work. I'm telling you, making music is the easy part, y'all. Easy part. Building a fan base is the hard part. I mean, I'm telling you, and what you were talking about wasn't even mentioning like, hey, it wasn't even talking about stuff outside of the digital world, like hitting up, schools, going to other events, going to concerts, networking with people, having a street team, passing out your music and stuff like that. Like, it's a lot of work to get your stuff out there. And you got to think about this. Like, there's so many other rappers out there, especially on the internet, spamming people with their music. So people are so turned off by people sharing their music with them because they're so used to it. There's no filter. That's the bad thing about us having the power to have these platforms like YouTube and Twitter. That's the negative side of it. The positive side is it's your platform and you can really build a real following. The negative side is you get that type of power to everybody, then, people's going to abuse it. So apart from promotion, building relationships with people, try to build relationships with other artists that are actually similar to you, that aren't too big to where they won't even respond to you, but try to find other artists that are really serious as you are, and maybe collaborate with them on their YouTube channels. Can collaborate with them on stuff. And I have a really good article. You should check it out on my website. It's called "Should You Collaborate with Other Rappers?" And it gives you a lot of insights on why you should or why you shouldn't. There's a lot of things to consider. And one other thing too, I would say is do some research about SEO, search engine optimization. Learn about what that means. Learn about trends, and start creating content around things that are trending, things that people are already searching for. And when you create content and make it real to you, like make it about stuff that you're really interested in, because your fan base is going to likely be people who are like you, who are interested in the stuff that you are. So whatever subgenres that you're really into, like like maybe you're into like video games really hard, whether that be like the NBA games or like the Call of Duty or whatever, like whatever subgenres that you're interested in. Don't be afraid to make songs that are about maybe like it's about a video game that came out that really sucks, and you make a diss song about it. Or if you're really political, you can go that route if you dare. Whatever it is, like paranormal stuff, UFOs, aliens, conspiracy theories, like stuff people searching for. Like figure out stuff that you're interested in, and learn how to do some research using something like Google, the Google keyword tool, and start studying keywords and start going after certain keywords. Just to use myself as an example, I teach people how to rap. That's something I know, people are searching for. And so that's how people discover me, is I create valuable content, which is the key. It's got to be valuable. If your music is garbage, then don't even worry about promoting yourself right now. It's better that you don't. You want to make sure you have a good product. Assuming that you do, then at that point, it's about delivering value. So when people do find you, if your stuff is really remarkable, then they'll tell their friends about you. And you don't have to force them to. No different than if you go to a restaurant and maybe let's say it's a new wing spot and you eat there and it's delicious, it's affordable, you feel like you get a lot of value for your money, then those people don't have to pay you to go tell your friends. You will likely tell your friends naturally, like, man, I got to check out this spot. It's off the hook. You know what I'm saying? So search engine optimization, check that out, build relationships, connect with people who are already fans, people who are already supporting rappers that are similar to you or your sound that you're going after. Start building relationships with those people. And those are two really great tips on how you can start doing that. Okay, so you got another question here. How can I find my voice? How do you fit your voice to the mood of the beat? So actually, you should check out, I have a series of articles already breaking this stuff down. If you search coalminestudios.com for how to find your voice or how to improve your rap voice, I've spoken about this at length. So the thing is, when it comes to your voice, is you already have your voice. So that's the first step, is accept the voice you already have, because it's not changing. You can't change your voice. You can manipulate it. You can play around with how you stress it, and your vocal cords is a muscle, so the way that you work it will change it. You know what I'm saying? But are you ready? But your voice is yours. So own it as it is. Usually your rap voice is going to be similar to how you sound on a daily basis, somewhat, maybe exaggerated, but that's what I consider like your baseline. It's your normal sounding voice, how you talk, and then you may exaggerate that while you're rapping. So really the key is finding the right beats that match your vocals. That's really the key, not so much of how to fit your voice to the beat, but find a beat that matches your voice. Okay? Like when a producer is making a beat for an artist, let's say it's an artist that sings. The first thing he needs to realize or figure out is, what is that artist's range? What's their octave, their vocal range? Like, where do they sit most naturally when they're singing? Like, what scales are they singing like more naturally and best? And then they'll build a beat around that information to make sure that it's like tailor-fitted clothes in a sense. And so just the beat that you pick alone is going to heavily affect how you sound on it. Slower tempo beats, like let's say trap beats, are typically mixing R&B with rap music. It's really what it is. But they're arranging drums in double time, so it sounds faster than it really is. It's actually really slow as far as the tempo goes. But that's another topic which I've spoken about at length in the past. But to let, like what I was saying earlier, like let the music speak to you, tell you what emotions that you feel. Like let it speak to you on just pay attention to how you feel, and then try to express how you feel on that track. It's just really as simple as that. I wouldn't overcomplicate that. Um, it's something that will take some experimenting, and also like having some type of home recording setup, or if you have a friend who has a studio, just being able to get in a studio and play around with a recording is really beneficial because you have a way that you sound in your head, but the way that you actually sound on a microphone can be very different. It really is. Like even till this day, when I'm recording, sometimes like it's still a surprise on how I will sound when I recorded versus how I thought I sounded when I actually recorded it. You know how I sounded in my head. So being able to hear yourself recording, also other stuff too, like how close and how far you are from the mic dramatically changes how your vocals sound. So the microphone and how you work the microphone is very important. The closer you get to the mic, the more bass there's going to be in your voice. That's why you always see people on the radio. They almost have the mic shoved down their throats. Yeah, welcome to Yo Yo Yo. It's going down today. Yeah, hey, it's 70 degrees outside. Traffic is very fair. It's thank you for tuning in. But if you just back up a little bit, it doesn't sound like that. You see, it's a lot more thinner. What? This is where DMX may need to be. But someone who's trying to get that "Are you ready" voice, you may get closer to it. So experiment. That's really all there is to that. There's no like generic way. Like, okay, well you do this and you do that. You have to let the music speak to you, and you got to experiment with that emotion that you're feeling. Change your vocals, but not too drastically. Make it sound natural. You got to sound natural, or it's going to come off as sounding fake, and people are going to pick up on that. So that would be my advice there. So hopefully that was helpful. Y'all got any more questions? Anybody got any more questions? Still got about 8 more minutes left. Any of this making sense to any of y'all? Just helping y'all out? K Dot. K Dot asks, how do I expand my vocabulary and break out of using repetitive words in all my songs? Good question. To expand your vocabulary means you must start consuming material that you're not normally consuming. So one great way to do that is start reading. Start reading books that interest you. Start paying really close attention to when you are watching anything, to where you hear a word that is used that you don't know what the meaning is. Write that down. Add that to your arsenal. Reading, blogs is great. I read a lot. Books are so important. You know what I'm saying? I always have a book, close by to me. I'm always reading something. Have books back there, which y'all can't see, but I have a gang of books that I'm always trying to read, and it's always something related to what I'm trying to get better at, what my vision is, where I'm trying to go in the future. Reading is fundamental, and learning is key. Like, your brain is a muscle. You know what I'm saying? Like, the more you work out anything, the stronger you get. And so it's really as simple as that. Just start consuming material and look at what you're already consuming, and just be real with yourself. I had an epiphany moment one point in time in my life that I'll share just a glimpse of with you. And it's the most simplest thing. It's something that but it was so deep and profound to me at the time. It changed my life. And I realized that I was reading a book, actually. One of the first books I actually read outside of high school, which I hated reading in high school. I hated it because I had to do it. And usually it was about stuff that had nothing to do with me. Like knowing the periodic table is not going to translate to my life. I'm sorry. It's just not, So I always felt that, I kind of resented reading in a sense because it was something that was forced upon me. So once I got out of high school, was right when the high-speed internet first started to hit. And then I just had a little epiphany moment where I was like, oh, I'm out of school. Like, I'm free. Can I guess I can like learn whatever I want to now. Then I started asking myself questions like, well, what do I want to learn? Man, I wonder how a record label works. what's an A&R? How do you put together a demo? How do you mix a song? How do you build a fan base? How much do rappers make? How do the taxes work? Just whatever. And ever since then, ever since that day, I've been asking myself questions all the time. And I was reading this book by Robert Kiyosaki because I wanted to learn more about business and being an entrepreneur and stuff like that. And it was something he said in this book, and it literally changed my life. And it's simple. All he said was, a lot of people think of investing strictly from a financial sense. They think of investment as, okay, you invested money into a company or whatever. And he said, actually, the greatest investment that you'll make in your life has nothing to do with money. Your greatest investment that you'll make in your life is how you spend your time and who you spend your time with. So that's something that I started evaluating in my own personal life. I had to have that going back full circle. Michael Jackson, Man in the Mirror, had to look at myself and say, Cole, what are you watching? What are you watching on TV? What are you watching on the internet? What are you listening to? What are you letting in your mind? Is that benefiting you? Are you learning from that? Is that edifying you, or is it degrading you? Is it like healthy for you, or is it poisonous to you? Is it making you smarter, or is it making you dumber? And that's how I started thinking about everything in my life. It's like, if I do anything in my life, I wanted to try to be beneficial to me. I wanted to get me closer or contribute to what my vision for my life is, where I wish to be in the future. Because you have your vision on where you're trying to get to. And when you have that vision, then that dictates your day-to-day activities. That dictates if you're going to the game to hang out with your friends or if you're going to stay at home and grind it out. If you have a vision, then now you can create a mission, which is how you get to that vision. So your mission is your goal that you're executing to get where you're not at, where you wish to be. So I changed like everything I was pretty much listening to and watching, and to each their own. You know what I'm saying? To each their own, but do like a self-inventory on what are you listening to, what are you reading, if anything, and start looking for ways to improve all that. And we all could improve in those areas. But I personally try to surround myself by people who's smarter than I am. And there's a saying that goes around, if you're the smartest person in your group of friends, then you might want to find some new friends, because you want to be around people who's going to challenge you and make you better, not by people who's just going to, consume information off of you and, all day long, and they can't contribute anything back. You want that to be someone mutual. And so now we have this wonderful thing called the internet, and anything you want to learn, there's a mentor already waiting out there for you, which is what I'm doing. I'm just a mentor when it comes to rapping, but I have lots of mentors on mixing, on producing, lawn care, automotive, health and wellness, technology, you name it. So yeah, reading, start listening to smart people who are smarter than you, and take notes, write down words, look them up in the dictionary. So that looks like that's going to be it. So, wow, time flies. I appreciate y'all listening to my my rambling. Lots of really good information shared as usual. My goal is next week is, if I have time, I'm going to try to have the song recorded and ready to be looked over next week. If not, we can just do another Q&A. We'll just play that by ear, because I got a lot of projects I'm working on behind the scenes with finishing up big projects I've been working on for a while now, mixing and things of that nature. So we'll play that by ear. But man, thank y'all so much for hanging out. Really enjoyed it. Really good questions. And y'all keep it rolling. Oh, we got one more real quick. This will be the last one. Cole, what can we expect from Freestyle Friday in the future? That's a good question, Rob. I think it's something that will continue to evolve. I don't know. And for some of y'all out there, you may not even know what Rob is asking about. I have a private Facebook community I created called Freestyle Friday. And the premise is I used to do these Freestyle Fridays every single Friday. And, it built up a little bit of a buzz, and people was anticipating me, dropping my bars for that week. And then one of my students asked me, like, hey, it'd be cool if, if maybe we all could, like, you could pick a beat and you could share that with us and we could all rap over the same beat together. I thought that was a really good idea. So I created a community for that. And it's been growing ever since. I think it's over, 400 or 500 people now that's in this community. And we have people moderating it to keep the trolls out and keep the spammers out, which a group is only as good as it's moderated. So that's a good question, Rob. What I would like to see that group continue to do is I would like to see it continue to grow, and I would like to see it in a way kind of sustain itself to where rappers are enjoying each other's raps and which basically what it already is, but just that continuing to grow what already is to where it's a positive outlet for people to learn and grow and ask questions. And then with these being a lot of my fellow students, people can share information that they know with each other because these are people who are students of rap. So I would like to see that aspect continue to grow as it is. But who knows, man, like in the future, we may have, contests. We may have, just continue to have fun switching things up with, themes or challenges or whatever. It's not a place for anyone out there wondering. This isn't a freestyle battle community. One, that's just not what I'm about. I know freestyle battles is really, a popular thing and stuff, but in this case, this is for people who are trying to learn and get better at rapping. It's not about tearing each other down. It's more about building each other up. That's what this community is all about. So I don't know, Rob. It's kind of like a child, It's like you don't know exactly how that child's going to be when it grows up. so you're just kind of watching it evolve as you're kind of trying to parent it and guide it the best you can. So I don't know, but Rob, honestly, I think it would be cool for that community to kind of be, it's kind of like a community for the rappers. It's not quote unquote mine. Like I'm not using it to like promote my stuff or anything like that. That's really for y'all. You know what I'm saying? That's my way of sharing my platform with all of you. And I would just like to see that continue to grow and be like a healthy community for rappers to unite together, network with one another, support one another, that type of stuff. So that's pretty much it on that. But we're going to have fun. And Monica's been killing it, man. Like, thank God for Monica. Like, she's been having a lot of fun with her posts and stuff and her polls that she's been asking and really getting good conversations going. Like, I thank her for that because it's tough for me, man. Like, I miss dropping my freestyles. I haven't did one in almost a month now, or maybe even longer than that. I'm still going to be popping in there every chance I can and interact with everybody. But I'm really proud of that community, and it really touches me, honestly, when I come in there and I haven't dropped anything in a minute, and I come in there and I see it still going, and I still see the same love and the same support. That's what it's all about right there. It's not about me. It's about y'all, and that's rare. And y'all know that's rare. You don't really see a whole lot of that on the internet. You see, a lot of rappers, just promoting themselves or, trying to, exalt themselves over other people. But it's cool to see a place where people can just come and be themselves, have fun, and spit over some dope beats every Friday. So, yeah. But that's it. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. I had a blast as usual. We're going to go ahead and wrap this thing on up. And Abraham, search my website, Cold Mize Studios. Search for how to pick a good rap name. I already got that one. Actually, any question y'all have, just go to coldmizestudios.com and just search for it. Chances are it's probably already answered somewhere on there. And if not, just hit me up or wait until we have another live stream and you can just ask me your question then. All right, so if this is y'all's first time being here, you can subscribe right there. You can also download my free ebook, The #1 Fundamental to Rapping, which I also link you up to my newsletter where I stay connected with all my awesome subscribers. And then also there's a video playlist down there somewhere, here, somewhere, over there, wherever it is, to where you can watch the rest of the videos in this series on writing a rap song live. So thank y'all so much for coming by and hanging out. This is Cole Mize, and I'm signing off. And remember, when it comes to rapping, there's no rules. There's only techniques. Peace.